The living current is the source of all life, and everything that is not consciously supportive and connected to this creative force creates deviation from the law. Nature's laws are simple, which can be stated in this way. Life exists everywhere. Order, purpose, and meaning exists wherever there are life forms harmoniously working and cooperating with the forces of nature. In the third-dimensional form world, biological humans possessing both organovegetative and cerebrospinal systems are totally dependent upon sun, pure air, pure water, natural foods, healthy soil, creative work, and the beauty of nature. Without this, we are no longer human. We are something else, perhaps cyborg, mechanical, techno creatures who are isolated from the law of life. Every person who is truly an organic human being is capable of sensing this living current. Unfortunately, our modern lifestyles tend to hinder awareness of it. Furthermore, as long as our ego identities are continuously preoccupied with living in insulated environments, materialistic lifestyles, or trying to gain power and control over others, we aren't able to consciously absorb or feel the living current. Consciousness moves energy, so we should learn to co-create with the subtle way and its power. As long as humanity remains obsessed with material gain or political agendas, philosophical ideas, and religious beliefs, this power will be overlooked. Such preoccupations make it next to impossible to actually become aware of the subtle presence of the holy life force. Each one of us has undoubtedly had some conscious connection with the life force. Perhaps when we were children or newly in love, we experienced unique moments where we were keenly aware of the energy and the subtle power inherent in the natural forces. Try to recall a time when you were outside and felt a slight breeze against your face or noticed the warmth of the sun. Sometimes you may have noticed what seemed like a chill, goosebumps, or an emotional rush of energy. It made you feel excited, quickly uplifted, hopeful, and re-energized. This is the effect of the movement of qi, or what I call biogenic life-generating energy. People have different interpretations and opinions about this, but whatever they choose to call it, Holy Spirit, Kundalini, Allah, Nirvana, it is all really the same thing. There is only one mind, one heart, and one life in the universe, and we are all equally connected to it without exception. Crucial to the survival of mankind in the years ahead is not more of the same old world system of big business, corporate exploitation of the poor, military might, government regulations, or biotechnology. Instead, a generation of people who value the life force above all else. My German grandfather once told me, "The perfect life would be to live as an Indian." For many years I didn't appreciate why he believed that. Yet years later I came across a beautiful quote from a Native American elder explaining this sublime viewpoint. It's a great description of primal conscious living. Before our white brothers came to civilize us, we had no jails. Therefore, we had no criminals. We had no locks or keys, and so we had no thieves. If a man was so poor that he had no horse, teepee, or blanket, someone gave him these things. We were too uncivilized to set much value on personal belongings. We wanted to have things only in order to give them away. We had no money, and therefore a man's worth couldn't be measured by it. Inevitably, there will one day arise a group of young people who will want to get in harmony with the cosmic and terrestrial forces. They will value the ancient practices that cultivate enlightenment through conscious communion and cooperation with the natural forces of the earthly mother and the psychological dynamisms of the cosmic father. Yet before this kind of enlightened culture can be achieved, there is preparatory work that needs to be done. Such preconditions include restoring the body to good health, developing simple, practical life skills, biogenic nutrition, communion with the forces, organic gardening, indoor gardening, fasting, mindfulness, gentle exercise, voluntary simplicity, as well as sacred, intimate relationship. And when two people of the opposite sex come together in a committed, intimate sexual relationship, sharing compatible beliefs, values, and goals, then they embody the subtle way and its power. By consciously choosing to live close to nature, enjoying living foods and working together, a couple begins to absorb and channel the intelligent energies of the cosmos through the dynamic power of monogamous sexual communion. To accomplish this, men must first learn how to consciously control and suspend ejaculation during intercourse, and women must learn to become receptive, drawing in the male nurturing energy by heightening their ecstatic response. Together, man and woman cultivate and create higher levels of conscious awareness. These kinds of relationships are still extremely rare in our world, perhaps only 1 in 10,000. But the numbers of these couples could possibly increase, especially when there is a significant change in the global consciousness on the planet. As men and women begin to heal the split between the masculine and feminine energies, more couples will inevitably start to spin at levels that are in harmony with the planet and contact the higher currents within the cosmic ocean of thought. The subtle way is not complicated, for it simply begins with humility. True satisfaction in life is a matter of experience and spiritual maturity. seeking the right kinds of pleasures rather than the wrong ones. Right pleasures are what Buddha defined as right living, are those habits that enhance health, inner strength, and lead one to higher absorption of the divine currents of energy, harmony, and knowledge. False pleasures do the opposite. They slowly destroy and weaken the human organism, disrupting the flow of biogenic life force and encourage destruction of the ecosystem of the planet. The sublime spiritual path is about finding the unnameable presence within, cultivating a high awareness of it, and spending time soaking it up directly into one's mind, heart, and body. This was the fundamental teaching of the ancient martial art masters, who sought to make their bodies capable of flowing the limitless universal chi energy through their entire being in order to serve others. All teachings that do not lead one back to nature or a high awareness of the subtle origin of life are simply contaminations of the mind. They are deviations from the one law of the universe, which is always and forever unity, harmony, oneness, and conscious cooperation with the laws of nature. Herein are the postures that enable us to achieve the perfect balance between the natural polar energies, which are the electrical male and the magnetic female energies. Perhaps it's difficult to believe that cultivating conscious communion with the primal sexual energy of the cosmos can offer so many benefits. And it may be even more of a stretch to consider the possibility that this is the original source of our beingness. All life is born of sex, which brings forth a high level of aliveness, satisfaction, and intuitive wisdom into our lives. Everyone is capable of feeling this subtle energy, and many of us have done so without even realizing it. Humanity has always been intrinsically connected to this power, and in ways that may never be fully understood. Those who live the subtle way and channel its power are merely those who want that more than anything else. As we each live out our own particular human predicament, earning money, paying taxes, paying bills, and raising children, there is still only one thing that really matters: the eternal origin of life behind the visible form world. And yet, it is often tempting to get caught up in pursuit of external things that are merely temporary manifestations. This is why it is wise to follow only what we have experienced to be true within ourselves. This is the threshold to experiencing sovereignty of the heart. We trek a path following the subtle energy back to the source, because that is where we came from. That is what we are. And if you don't think this is true, then you have not looked within yourself deeply enough in order to directly experience your own energetic field of living energy. You can prove it to yourself through daily practice of stillness and silence. To begin, It is useful to take an inventory and look at the outer manifestations of your life and discover what it is that you need to do to cultivate and maintain this force directly. Many people believe they can simply think or manifest their way into creating the conditions they desire. This law of attraction has become quite popular during the last several years. This law is, of course, true, yet there is a higher law that is rarely ever talked about. This is the law of opposites. Yes, it is possible to draw what we desire into our lives through the law of attraction, yet it must be balanced through the law of opposites. Humanity exists in a dualistic reality of polarity. Night, day, up, down, light, dark, male, female, yin, yang, birth, death, hot, cold. Realize that balance is crucial for life to flourish, especially at this level of density. Therefore, we must learn to honor and embrace the fact that everything we create, there will be an equal and opposite result. This is why the cultivation of virtue is more powerful than simply focusing on the law of attraction. Some of our most beloved, ancient spiritual brothers and sisters embodied this knowledge, and they left us valuable clues. These virtues are humility, wishing happiness for others, temperance, compassion, willpower, chastity of mind and heart, and generosity. Each of these qualities opens up the sacred vortexes within us, whereas sins or egotistical attitudes close the channels in our subtle bodies and therefore disrupt the flow of life force energy. This is the undisclosed truth to embracing the subtle way and its power. Every valuable ancient philosophy or religious teaching contains some version of this through the golden rule, doing unto others what we want done to us. Beloved masters from our ancient past provided inspiring clues, maps, and practical advice. Most common to them is their basic message to mankind. There is only one of us. We're not separate. We are always connected to the same source. Since the message of the world's greatest saints and sages is really the same, I will share one of my favorite examples. It's from the parable of the banquet, where the Master Jesus teaches us about humility. Luke 14, verses 7 through 14. And he spoke a parable to those who were invited there, because he saw them choosing places among the front seats. When you are invited of a man to a banquet house, do not go and sit in the front seat. It might be that a more honorable man than you is invited there, and then he who has invited you may come and say to you, "Give the place to him," and you will be embarrassed when you get up to take a lower seat. But when you are invited, go and sit at the lower end, so that when he who has invited you comes, he will say to you, "My friend, go up and sit higher, and you will have glory before all who sit with you. For whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." Finally, I'd like to end with a message I received in a meditation many years ago. It was during a time when I was asking the Divine Mind for an understanding on how to live my life in the highest way. In the silence, this is what I received. Dear one, just live a simple life and be a simple person. Not because it's good or moral, but because if you go out there chasing after temporary things that don't matter, your heart is going to clench. You'll just get more confused and eventually suffer disappointment. Look, my friend, life works when you don't want anything other than the awareness of the divine presence. So just get your basic needs in order first, so you can free up a lot of time and energy. Then you can focus that energy on being creative and having this profound experience of the unity of all things. Let everything else go. Where your treasure is, so is your heart. That's the same ancient message and the beginning of primal conscious living.